Today I want to welcome to the show Mark and the Tiger. He is promoting a brand new single that we're going to talk a lot about. It's called My Magic. It's also got some other new music coming out within the next month. Otherwise, we're going to dive in and just solve the mystery of where that tiger came from. So welcome to the show, Mark.
Thanks so much for having me.
Well, what I've deduced by looking at your website, I figure that the tiger is your spirit animal.
It's definitely part of it for sure. If I'm honest, it had like pretty just stupid roots, and then it's become something really wonderful. So when I was in college, I don't know, I've always loved tigers for sure, but when I was in college, a friend of mine had this poster of this beautiful tiger, and she called it Lion the Tiger, and we would just get high and hang out in her room, but I was obsessed with this poster of this tiger, and it sort of just became this kind of inside joke. And then I kind of adopted it as my spirit animal. It's been with me for a long time now, so it's been cool.
Well, it's very memorable, and what I like about all your pictures is you're a good match with the tigers in your photos. Now, were you actually posing with a tiger, or was that a little Photoshop going on?
No, that's 100% real. How dare you even ask? No, I wish I was, but it was a little Photoshop happening.
It's cool because like your hair matches some of the fur in the tiger. It's like it's almost like you're a werewolf, like, you know, you turn into the tiger or something.
Man, wouldn't that be cool? If only.
On your site, you list yourself as not only a pop singer, but a songwriter and lyricist. And I like that you separate lyricist. So I normally think it's a full package, but it sounds like you especially want to be known for your lyrics in your songs.
Yeah, I really do. I grew up listening to a lot of folk music, and it was just, it's all about the story, and I don't know, I think words have a lot of power. And so, growing up listening to that music, and especially, I like Dar Williams is a big inspiration, and Patty Griffin, and the way that they could just, paint such a picture with their words is so beautiful to me, and I really want to do the same.
Well, it seems like you really did that with your single, My Magic. What was the inspiration for those lyrics? It's on the surface, it's a very pleasant song to listen to, but when you listen close to the lyrics, it kind of packs a punch with some seriousness.
Yeah, well, it happened, I was listening to NPR. I was in my car, I wrote this whole song, it just kind of fell out of me. I was listening to NPR, and they were talking about, I think it was right after the Parkland shooting, and they were talking about this idea of teachers having guns in the classroom, and that it would be fine because they wouldn't be loaded, they'd just be there like just in case. And I thought it was so sad that we'd kind of come to this point in our society where, teachers would have to put themselves on the line like that, and that was even an option. So, the verses just kind of flew out of me like that, and so it kind of came as this place of, like, what do you do about that? Like, how can I, as just, a random guy out here in California, make a difference? And so I had this idea in my head that I wanted to write this spell through music and kind of get people to actually pay attention to what was happening in the world.
What kind of impact do you think a song like this can have?
I hope a lot. I hope a lot of impact. I hope, my hope for it is that it can be kind of like a little anthem, that it can connect people and one, make them sort of laugh at the state of affairs right now, because I think it's so easy to just get really depressed. And if you can take a step outside of the fact that it's so horrible, everything happening right now is sort of hilarious. If it was on TV, you wouldn't believe it. So I would love to have people listen to this and be able to take a step back from the situation and then kind of join together and find a little unity from it.
Now, you moved from Maine out to Los Angeles?
I did. I'm a Downeaster.
And you recorded this in Pasadena, so I'm curious, did you feel a certain vibe in Pasadena? Because a lot of people, there's a certain kind of 70s folk music, 60s, 70s thing going on in, LA, San Francisco. Did you feel some of that West Coast vibe when you recorded this?
Well, it's so funny you say that, because I 100% did, and it wasn't planned that way. The producer that I worked with, Michael Parnan, he's amazing. He's worked with like Andrew Lloyd Webber and 30 Seconds to Mars and all sorts of stuff. But he's a friend of a friend who, and this said friend connected us both, and it was just really great. But his studio is there, and it is 100%. You walk in, and it's like his home and his studio, and it just has that 70s vibe, it has like this green carpet, and it's all like this cool dark wood, and all of his equipment is like from the 60s and 70s, and it's really rad, actually. So it definitely sets the mood. It sets the vibe really well.
Well, I see from all your photos that you take a lot of photos outdoors, and you kind of strike me as someone who gets a lot of inspiration from nature.
I do. I'm a big hippie at heart.
So obviously Maine has some beautiful, nature, but there's something unique about California, like the redwoods, the ocean. What's special about California nature to you?
I think the fact that all of it's here. I mean, especially down here in Southern California, it's mad to me how, I live in Culver City, so I'm like 10 minutes from the beach, but then if I drive, an hour and a half or 2 hours south, I'm in like the total desert. And then same if I go to the north, I'm in the forest, and it's incredible. Or I could go to almost every single ecosystem in a day. And I think that's pretty special, because I love Maine. It's probably my favorite place in the world. But you don't have all of that there. So it's neat to experience all that out here.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing, too, is, when you call a song My Magic, you really put something out there. Or even, some of your lyrics, like casting a spell. Do you think that music has the power to cast a spell?
Oh, 100%. I think music is magic, because, first of all, I think every single person out there can remember a time when they've listened to a song and it's changed how they're feeling. And that's magic, right? It's just the intentional changing of your energy or amplifying it or whatever. And, music is so powerful. You think about it, it just brings every single person together. Like if you go to a concert, if you go to a festival, you could be, hundreds of different people of different backgrounds and different lives who, if they just saw each other on the street, would maybe hate each other. But they've all come together for this one purpose, and they've all come together to celebrate life and to be happy and to just have an amazing time. And that's so powerful. And I think music is the key to all of that.
You once described yourself as the male Stevie Nicks.
Well,
which I thought was
at
pretty
least
cool.
I want to be. At least I really want to be.
But that's a nice
big
shortcut
to
to
fill,
kind of zero in. Yeah, did you remember when
right?
she was on American Horror Story, the Coven season, and they had her play? I think it was Rhiannon on the piano.
Yeah.
But someone like Stevie, she it's like generation after generation she inspires.
She really does.
Would you like to have...
because I think when she came... I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Say that again?
Oh, and I was going to say, would you like to have that kind of reach to be able to inspire not only this generation, but a generation later?
100%. I would love that. You know, I think so many people look to her as just, as you say, an inspiration, but she's just so authentically herself at all times. And I struggled a lot with being myself or even knowing who I was for so much of my life, and I feel like I've finally come to a point where, you know, this is me and this is what I'm putting out into the world, and I hope that I can inspire people to do the same for years to come.
What's your favorite either Stevie Nicks song or Fleetwood Mac song?
Ooh, my favorite Fleetwood Mac song is the 97 live version of Rhiannon. It's just so freaking cool. My favorite Stevie Nicks song is her title track from her first solo album. It's called Belladonna. It's not super well known unless you're like a big Stevie fan, but I just love it. And if I have one dream, it's so specific, but I see myself when she's finally honored at the Kennedy Center. I want to sing that song for her to honor her. I just think that would be the best thing.
Well, a big thing about Stevie, and I actually did see her in concert once. It was 1983,
amazing, right?
So that dates me.
Oh,
She
wow.
was, and what's so cool is all the women you see out in the lobby dressed like her. And it's kind of like even before the Madonna wannabes in the 80s. All these women just spontaneously, you see them all together in one place. And it's like, oh, my God, there's this look, you know, the shawls, the tall heels and all that. So how do you incorporate, like, your brand of costume? Do you have a look on stage? Do you incorporate a little bit of Stevie essence in your look?
I totally do. It's been a bit of a work in progress, but you know, obviously the hair plays a big part. I love jewelry, so I tend to wear a lot of jewelry and just like a lot of stuff where I can move around it. I think I'm a yoga teacher also on the side, my little side hustle, and I just love to be able to move. And I think when I first started playing gigs, I would wear, like, you know, the cool stuff, like, you know, leather jackets and jeans and all that, and I just felt so restricted, and it was it just really killed the vibe. So now I just try and wear anything I can do that's flowing and breathable and lets me just like sway around like a lunatic on stage.
Well, you've got a few gigs coming up, I see. It seems like you're performing live a lot. What are the audiences like in California where you perform?
It's cool. You know, it's such a mix, just depending. There are so many venues out here, like, you know, like from the dive bars to, you know, like the rooms where people are coming specifically for the music. So you get a big mix of people. I mean, when people are excited and into the gig, they are just all about it. And, like, you know, there's so much energy and it's amazing. And then, you know, I play those shows too where you're playing in the background and then, you know, people are having their drinks and you're singing over 1,000 other conversations. But there's like a charm to that too, which is kind of fun. So.
Now, you're playing Whiskey a Go-Go in January. Is this your first
I'm
time there?
about it. Yeah, it'll be I haven't even been to the Whiskey to see a gig yet. So I gotta go do that first and check it out. But I'm pumped.
Yeah, especially for someone from out of town. I mean, do you have a lot of, you know, there's a big myth around, you know, certain clubs and, you know, Whiskey a Go-Go has such a reputation. How did you feel when you finally got booked there?
It's just kind of surreal, right? I mean, you hear about the Sunset Strip and whiskey and all that jazz, and it's amazing to think about playing in a place where so many rock stars have played. I mean, it's kind of cool. It's not kind of cool. It's amazing. It's really cool.
Well, you've spoken more than once, I think, for your love of Florence and the Machine, and actually that seeing Florence and the Machine in concert kind of solidified, you know, you wanting to become a singer and a performer like that.
Yeah, it really did. I actually moved out here shocker, to be an actor like everybody else. But more so just kind of to escape. I think I wanted to just get away from my life in New England, and so I came out here, and I was doing the acting thing a little bit, like a very little bit, but I was super insecure, and I wasn't loving life, and I was just kind of like, I reached a point after a couple of years of living here where I just didn't know what to do, and I've been singing my whole life in various capacities, for forever, but it just never occurred to me to make it a career. And then, when I came and I hit this point where I was just sort of bummed out, I had gotten tickets to see Florence at the Hollywood Bowl. I'd never seen her before. I just went by myself. I think it was my first time at the Bowl, too. But I just remember watching her on stage, and she was singing Shake It Out, which is my favorite Florence song, and it's kind of been there at sort of every major point in my life since it's come out. But she was just running around barefoot, and she had this huge smile on her face, and I just had this light bulb moment of like, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is why you're here. So leave everything else behind and start doing this. And it's very cool to now be doing it.
Now, when you came out to LA, did you know anyone?
I did. I knew one girl who was my roommate. We were best friends in college, and she had moved out here a few years ago to film school. And when I finished college in Connecticut, she called me over the summer and was like, "I know you're trying to move to LA. My roommate's being deported back to London. Do you want to come and be my roommate?" And so it was total just serendipitous. It was great.
Well, his loss was your gain.
Exactly. It worked out. I know. Sorry they're back in London, but it worked out great for me.
Well, so it's cool you knew someone, but you come, fresh to town, as they say, fresh off that Greyhound bus. Hopefully you flew, but, that whole picture.
I drove. My dad and I drove all the way from Maine to here.
Oh, my God, your dad. That was pretty darn nice of him.
I know. We made a whole week of it, so we saw some cool sights along the way.
So he drops you off on the side of the road. You've got a suitcase and a guitar, and he goes, "Good luck." So, you're fresh there. You have one friend, but how do you build up contacts from scratch? I mean, it's so competitive there. Once you knew you were going to do music, what was your strategy? How did you start, building your music contacts in LA?
I didn't. I had no idea what to do for so long. I just knew that this is what I wanted to do. So by the time I had, decided to do music, I had finally made a group of friends that was mine and not my roommates, and it took a good long time just to even do that. It's hard to meet people in LA and have real authentic connections with, but when I decided to do music, I didn't know where to start, and I didn't know any musicians around. I had a lot of friends who were in the yoga community, a lot of friends who were in the film industry, but not anyone who was doing music around me. So I just started writing songs, and so for the first few years probably, I just was writing, and I play well enough to write the songs, but I didn't feel like I don't play anything well enough where I would, at least starting out, just go and bring guitar to an open mic night. So that really kept me, I really had a lot of fear on that for ages. And then finally I just met someone who was like, well, why don't you just hire a guitar player? He was actually another songwriter. He's like, just hire a guitar player, go get yourself out there. And I did. It was super, and it was frightening but inspiring. And then once I started doing that, then it was kind of like pieces just started falling together. So, but it's been a long road.
So in a way, it was exactly like Lady Gaga in A Star Is Born.
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Me and Gaga, twins.
It's so funny because you see movies like that. I think sometimes they give people this kind of odd impression of how showbiz works. I mean, some of it's pretty cool and true, but so much of it is timing or being in the right place at the right time. So since like you've been in LA, there's so many, disappointments, but when is like, since you've been in LA, one of those magical times when you've been in like the right place at the right time and made a really cool connection?
Well, honestly, I mean, meeting this most recent producer was probably one of the coolest things, because I met one of my best friends. She had known him, just from years back, and I had actually met him before randomly. We'd hung out, but we'd never really thought about it, and that was kind of like just when I was starting to do music. But a few years ago, Sandy and my husband, my friend and my husband were out to coffee or something in Pasadena, and this guy, Michael, wandered past, and they were just chatting, and my husband was like, "Who is that?" Like, "Oh, he's a producer. Well, why haven't we like set him up with Mark?" And my friend was like, "Oh, well, why haven't we?" And so they kind of like really initiated the whole thing. But from that meeting and working with Michael at his studio, it's been cool, and I've met such amazing musicians from them. The guitar player from Morrissey, Alan White, is on it, and the woman who's singing background vocals was touring with Eric Clapton, and the keyboard player was touring with Alanis Morissette, and just like all of a sudden, it's all these little connections, and 6 degrees of separation was just sort of falling into place. And it just, from a random friend of a friend encounter. It's so neat.
Does it feel like things are starting to snowball for you now?
It really does, for the first time, and it's just been like in the past month or 2 months that I think I can say that, but suddenly it just feels like I have real direction. I was writing all this music for so long and doing gigs that sometimes would pay off and sometimes not, but now suddenly it just sort of feels like things are picking up, and I've found a new manager in B Squared Management, and they're incredible, and I've really just I just feel like I've upped the game, which is great.
Now, you put out a song before this about 2 years ago or so, and you did a music video to it, and I thought it was really good. So
Thank you.
Are we going to see new music videos? Because, it seemed like this was a good format for you, music videos to illustrate your lyrics.
I do love that idea. I definitely, as things get building and the funds roll in, I 100% want to do some more music videos. And I would love to do some pretty super inspiring music videos. I was just watching when Missy Elliott was honored. I think it was at the MTV Awards. But they did this little featurette of her and talking about her music videos and how, her music was above the game, but then it was always her videos that really pushed the edge. And I love that idea of taking the music and adding so much more to it with the visuals. So hopefully I can do something similar.
Well, do you have like a video camera on your smartphone?
I do.
Well, what's stopping you?
Yeah. That's true. That's very true. Touche.
Just go hang out on the Sunset Strip and take some footage, and you're good to go.
That's the truth. It's true. Got to start somewhere. That's for sure. Well, I have. They're not like wild videos, but there are going to be some acoustic videos of some of my new stuff that's going to come out. Hopefully within the month of October, and they should be pretty neat, just to get some new content out, and the lighting will be very beautiful and cool, so it'll be neat.
Well, this is a good segue. We're going to wrap up, not right away, but before we do, I want to at least make sure people know where, like when you start to post that, where are the best places to find you, see any videos, to buy your music? Where should they find you on the web?
Yeah, well, so markandthetiger.com is my website, and it has links to everything. I have a YouTube page that's sparse right now, but it does have that music video that you were mentioning from my old song Smile. that's up there. And then, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple Music, I'm on all the places. And then otherwise, just come see a show sometime. I'm going to be at the Redwood Bar in downtown LA tomorrow at 10:30, and I'll be at Silver Lake Lounge on October 5th. So it'll be cool. Check me out.
Excellent. Yeah, that is a real good thing on your website. It has a really good section that shows where you're playing live. So highly recommend people check that out. But not just check it out, but act on it and actually go. So what I want to know is, how do you fill seats? You always got these friends that say, oh, you got a show, I'm going to go, but they never do. What is your technique to get people to come to your shows?
I'll let you know when I discover it. A lot of it is just friends of friends, a lot of word of mouth, but no, I'm still trying to master that one myself. So. And
to wrap up, so obviously, if you could open for any act, Florence and the Machine, Stevie Nicks, but besides those two, I'm going to make it a little harder. So My Magic takes off. They're going to book you to open for a tour. Whose audience do you think, a very contemporary, current audience, do you think would really get into your music that you could see yourself opening for?
I think I just saw Maggie Rogers live at the Greek, and I think we have a similar vibe. I think that her audience would dig my stuff. Or there's an amazing band called First Aid Kit, who they're a little folky and but very contemporary and cool, and I think that would go really well too.
And out of your backlog of songs that you've written, not necessarily recorded, but written, which one would you just die if Stevie Nicks recorded it?
Oh man, well, I wrote her song Rihanna is about, she has this whole backstory about it being a Welsh witch. I had written, I do all these plant medicine and meditation retreats and all sorts of stuff, and I met this woman there who is this French glamazon who works for the United Nations, and I told her I was going to write a song about her, and so I wrote a song about her called Amandine, because that's her name, and it has sort of become kind of my version of Rhiannon, and that would be very cool to either hear Stevie sing it or even just to have her hear it in general, because she so inspired it.
See, because it sounds like, you talk about intention. So how do you put that out there with an intention to say, I can already see and hear Stevie recording this song?
You know what? Just like that. I mean, I really can. Just in my heart, in my bones, in my mind, I can see it happening. And I think so much of it is just knowing that. And when doubt comes, because it always comes, just to go back to that place of knowing.
Well, we got 30 seconds to wrap up and tell everyone just the most inspiring thing you can say to anyone, whether a musician or not, just a quick 15 seconds of encouragement to the people who have been listening to you.
There will always be hard times. There will always be times, even after good times, that feel like you're failing and that it will never happen, and you just have to keep going forward, because eventually it will. You just have to never stop.
Good words to live by. I really appreciate you taking the time out to be on the show today, Mark.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a ton of fun.